Now, if the polynomial is a cubic polynomial, fx is equal to x cube minus 6x square plus 11x minus 6. To find the zeros, you will equate fx to 0. That means x cube minus 6x square plus 11x minus 6 is equal to 0. By hit and trial method, factorize this. You have already done in class 9. And the factors of this will be x minus 1, x minus 2, x minus 3 equal to 0. So what does it implies? Either x is equal to 1, 2 or 3, and hence the zeros are 1, 2 and 3. Now next, here in this topic we will find if the zeros are given, then how to find the polynomials. Earlier we have done the polynomials are given and you are finding out the zeros. It is the reverse case. If zeros are given, then how to find the polynomial. Now, suppose x is equal to 2 is the zero of a polynomial fx. Then fx is equal to x minus 2 is the polynomial. Second example, if x is equal to minus 5 is the zero of fx, then fx will be x plus 5, and this x plus 5 is the polynomial. These are the examples if only one zero is given. Now, if two zeros of a polynomial are given, then the quadratic polynomial is given by the formula px is equal to k times x square minus sum of the zeros into x and then plus product of the zeros. Here k is any real number. For example, if 3 and 5 are the zeros of the polynomial, then the quadratic polynomial is px is equal to k times x square minus the sum of the zeros. These are the zeros 3 and 5. You need to find out the sum. So 3 plus 5 into x plus product of the zeros. That product of the zeros is 3 into 5. So finally the polynomial will be what? K times x square minus 3 plus 5 is 8. So x square minus 8x plus 15. Right? Now next, if 3 zeros are given, then the cubic polynomial is given by px is equal to k times x cube minus sum of the zeros into x square plus sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time into x minus product of the zeros. Now, for example, if the zeros are 1, 2 and 3, these are the given. These zeros will be given to you and you need to find out the polynomials. So, px will be k times x cube minus, it is given that it is the sum of the zeros. You add all these zeros, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 into x square plus sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time. How will you take two at a time? 1, 2, then 2, 3 and 3, 1, and you have to form the sum. See, sum of the product. So 1 into 2 plus 2 into 3 plus 3 into 1 into x and minus the product of the zeros, that is 1 into 2 into 3. So that is equal to k times x cube, sum is 6, so minus 6x square, and here the sum is 11, so plus 11x minus 6. So this is a cubic polynomial. Now next, we need to find out the relation between, next topic is relation between the zeros and coefficient of a quadratic polynomial. Straight away we will start with the question and then we will generalize the result. So find the zeros of the polynomial px is equal to x square plus 7x plus 12 and verify the relation between its zeros and its coefficients. So px is equal to 0. To find the 0, of course you need to equate px to 0. So px is equal to 0, x square plus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. So x plus 3 into x plus 4 is equal to 0 after factorizing it. So from here you find that the value of x is minus 4 or minus 3. Therefore the zeros are minus 4 and minus 3. Let us take the sum of the zeros. So sum of these zeros will be minus 4 plus minus 3, and that is equal to minus 7. Now this 7, I'll write it as 7 by 1. There is a purpose behind it. Minus of 7 by 1. Now what is this 7? 7 is the coefficient of x here. And what is this 1? The coefficient of x square. So you can relate this 7 by 1 as minus of coefficient of x upon coefficient of x square. Now next we'll see what happens with the product of the zeros. Product of the zeros will be minus 4 into minus 3, that is equal to 12. Again this 12, I'll write it as 12 by 1, again with some purpose. And what is that purpose? 12 is nothing but the constant and 1 is the coefficient of x square. So in place of 12, I'll write constant of the polynomial upon the coefficient of x square. So how will you summarize it? Suppose if fx is equal to ax square plus bx plus c, and what is this? This is the standard quadratic polynomial. So how will you correlate this coefficient of the polynomial and the zeros, right? So sum of the zeros is minus b by a. So minus b is what? B is what? The coefficient of x, and it is a negative factor, right? So minus b upon a is what? The coefficient of x square. Similarly, the product of the zeros is always c by a. C remains the constant and a is the coefficient of x square. Now next question. Fx is equal to x square minus 2. To find the zeros, you will write fx is equal to 0. So x square minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to plus minus root 2. Now sum of the zeros. How will you find the sum of the zeros? So the two zeros are what? Root 2 and minus root 2. So you form the sum of these zeros. Root 2 minus plus of minus root 2, and that is root 2 minus root 2, that is equal to 0. Now this 0 can be written as 0 divided by 1, and 0 again can be written as minus coefficient of x. Why? Because here the x term is absent, so you can write x square minus 0x minus 2, right? So minus coefficient of x upon coefficient of x square. Again, product of the zeros is what? Root 2 into minus root 2, that is minus 2, and this minus 2 happens to be what? The constant of the given polynomial. So constant upon coefficient of x square, right? Now next example. This is a cubic polynomial. Fx is equal to x cube minus 6x square plus 11x minus 6. Find the zeros. Fx is equal to 0. Equate this to 0, that is x cube minus 6x square plus 11x minus 6 is equal to 0, and from there you, by using hit and trial method, find the factors. The factors of this is x minus 1, x minus 2 and x minus 3. Equate it to 0. You will get the values of x as either 1, 2 or 3. Therefore, the zeros of the polynomials are what? 1, 2 and 3. Now what are the sum of the zeros? Sum of the zeros is what? 1 plus 2 plus 3, and that is equal to 6. 6 can be written as 6 by 1. Now see, this is positive, and in the question the coefficient of x square is given as minus 6. So how will I change it? Minus of minus 6 upon 1, right? So this is negative. Now minus 6 is what? Coefficient of x square, upon 1 is what? The coefficient of x cube. Now next is sum of the product of zeros taken 2 at a time. So how will you find out the product? Sum of the product of zeros taken 2 at a time. 1 into 2 plus 2 into 3 plus 1 into 3, and that is the sum of this comes out to be 11, and 11 can be written as 11 by 1. And what is this 11? 11 is the coefficient of x. So I'll write this as coefficient of x upon coefficient of x cube. Now the third point is product of the zeros. Multiply all the zeros and you will get 6. Now see, here the constant is minus 6. So to make it as minus 6, I'll change it as minus of minus 6 upon 1. So this minus remains, and minus 6 happens to be the constant of the polynomial, and 1 is the coefficient of x square. Thus, to summarize the above topic, you can write it as, if the polynomial is a quadratic polynomial, then sum of the zeros is minus b by a, and you can use this as a formula wherever it is required. And product of the zeros is c by a. And if it is a cubic polynomial, then sum of the zeros is minus b by a. Sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time is c by a. Of course, a, b, c, d have a particular meaning. A is what? X, the coefficient of x cube. B is what? Coefficient of x square. C is what? Coefficient of x. And D is what? The constant. So, sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time is c by a, and product of the zeros is minus d by a.